Hello, and welcome to Histograms and Frequency Practice Problems. This is going to go over 4 questions. Although it's optional, I really encourage everyone to listen to this because not only are these 4 questions on Homework 2.1, they're going to be the questions you see on the Frequency and Histogram quiz. So if you can master this, you will do very well on the quiz, which is 5% of your total grade. So let's take a look. So right here we have a list of temperatures broken up by the number of days. This is about high temperatures in Fort Worth last year. And you'll notice that they already did the class in the frequency for us. So we have to do midpoint relative frequency and cumulative frequency. All right, so midpoint, we're just going to add each group and divide by 2. So that means we're going to do 30 plus 39, which is equal to 69. And then divide that by 2. And that's equal to 34.5. So our first midpoint is 34.5. Okay, and if you were to do the same thing with 40 to 49, well, you would do 40 plus 49, which is equal to 89. And then divide that number by 2. And that's going to equal to 44.5. If I can get that in. Now, take a look at this pattern. Everything in class goes 30, 40, 50, 60. It goes up by 10. Also notice 39, 49, 59, 69 also goes up by 10. And our midpoint, the beginning of it looks like 34.5, 44.5, also goes up by 10. The midpoint is just going to keep going up by 10. If you feel safer, you can continue to add and divide by 2, but since I already know where this is going, I'm just going to keep adding 10, because I don't need to show work for that. I know how to add 10. So just knocking them out, just one by one like so. Almost there. And midpoint is complete. Very good. All right, relative frequency. Relative frequency is frequency divided by the total. Well, I don't know what the total is yet. Well, do you see right here where it says days and it gives you a bunch of numbers? The total is going to be all of these days added together. What that means is I would like to do in the calculator, I would like to do 10 plus 25 plus 41 plus 59 plus 67 plus 60 plus 95 plus 8. And if you take the time to put that in the calculator, the total is going to equal to 365, which makes sense because 2019 was a regular year, so 365 days in a year. Okay, well, now to do relative frequency, I would like to take every frequency and divide by 365. So first, I would like to do 10 divided by 365. And that's equal to 0.027. Let's see if I can get the font smaller than that. And that's what I'm going to type in. So our first relative frequency is 0.027. All right, next I will do 25 divide 365. and that's equal to 0.068. And then from there, what I'll do is I'll just keep doing the same thing. 41 divide 365, 59 divide 365, and so on. So if we do that, 41 divide 365 is 0.112. Then 59 divide 365 is 0.162. Then 67 divide 365 is 0.184. Then 60 divide 365 is 0.164. Then 95 divide 365 is 0.260. And finally, 8 divide 365 is 0.022. All right, so relative frequency is complete. Cumulative frequency. Now remember, when it comes to cumulative frequency, the first number is the exact same as regular frequency. So if the first frequency starts with 10, that means our first answer is going to be 10. Afterwards, we'll continue to add the next number. So 10 plus 25 is now 35. 35 plus 41 is 76. 76 plus 59 is 135. 135 plus 67 is 202. 202 plus 60 is literally 262. That 6 doesn't look good. Let me see if I can make it better. There you go, a little better. 262 plus 95 is 357. And finally, 357 plus 8 is 365. And that's it. Our frequency chart is complete. All right, so here we have another one, but this time we have to come up with our class and frequency on our own. So the number one step is to find the class width. Now when I look at this, I see that the maximum is 49 and the minimum is 0. Okay, I would like to start by doing 49 minus 0, which I already know is 49. Then I'd like to divide that by the number of classes, which in this case is 5. If you do, you're going to get 9.8, but we have to round up to the next number, so that means our class width is 10. Okay. All right, well, when doing class, always start with the minimum. And the minimum in our case was 0. If I can get it in there, there it is. Now what we're going to do is, as we go down, we're going to keep adding 10 over and over and over again. So the next one is 10. Next one is 20. Next one is 30. And next one is 40. Excellent. Now notice that the second class starts with a 10. Well, the number that comes before 10 is 9. So that means 9 will be the end of the first class, which means the first class is 0 to 9. And then I'll keep adding 10 to that. So the second class is 10 to 19. then 20 to 29, then 30 to 39, and then 40 to 49. All right, excellent. All right, frequency. This means we're going to have to count all the numbers that are between 0 to 9. Basically, anything that's a single digit. And I count, let's see, how many numbers are single digits? I only count 2 numbers there. So the first frequency is 2. Next, I like to count all the numbers that are in the teens. So let's see, nothing, 1, 2, 3, 4. I count 4. Next, I like to count all the numbers in the 20s. There's a lot there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I count 7 of them. If I can fix that a little, there we go. Next, I like to count all the numbers in the 30s. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. All right. And then finally, I like to count all the numbers in the 40s. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, just 3. All right, excellent. Now, midpoint. Now remember, midpoint is just the class added together and divided by 2. So to find the midpoint, I would like to do 0 plus 9. First, I like to do 0 plus 9, which is 9. And then divide that number by 2. So that's going to equal to 4.5. So our midpoint, our first midpoint, is 4.5. But because our width was 10, I just want to keep adding 10 to that over and over again. So the next midpoint will be 14.5. Next, 24.5. Next, 34.5. And next, 44.5. All right, so that takes care of that. Okay, next is relative frequency. Now, relative frequency is frequency divided by the total. So in this case, it's going to be the frequency divided by 4, 8, 12, 20. The reason we're dividing by 20 is because there are a total of 20 numbers. So first, we're going to do 2 divided by 20, and that's equal to 0.10. And I will write that as an answer. Next, I would like to do 4 divide 20. And that's equal to 0.20. Next, I would like to do 7 divided by 20. And that's equal to 0.35. Then 4 divide 20, which we did earlier, it was 0.20. And then 3 divide 20, if you put that in the calculator, it's 0.15. Okay, very good. Cumulative frequency. Now remember, cumulative frequency, the first cumulative frequency is the same as regular frequency. So the first answer is 2. But then every other answer we will add on. So 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 plus 7 is 13. 13 plus 4 is 17. And finally, 17 plus 3 is 20, if I can get that. There we go. And I noticed that the last cumulative is 20, so that tells me that we're right. Okay, there may be some questions. The class with the greatest frequency, the biggest frequency, well, that's going to be 20 to 29 because its frequency was 7. And the class with the smallest frequency is 40 to 49 because its frequency was only 3. So we've answered those questions. Okay, so now we have 30 players on the Cowboys, and we want to fill in the frequency chart. So once again, we need the biggest and the smallest. This one's kind of a pain because the numbers are out of order, so be careful here. Sometimes it helps to write it in order. But anyway, the biggest number is 346. The smallest is 189. If you subtract those, you get, I better check it out, 157. But this time, we're doing 8 classes. And 157 divided by 8 is 19.6, which we're going to round up to 20, because we always have to round up. Okay, now remember when doing class, we have to always start with the smallest number. And the smallest number was 189. But now, to get everything else, we're just going to keep adding 20 on. So next up is 209. Next up is 229. Next up is 249. Next up is, I'll leave it right there, 269. Next up, 289. Next up, 309. And then finally, 329. All right, excellent. Well, I see that the second class starts with 209. So by default, that means the first class must end with 208. And then I'll keep adding 20 to that. So next is 228. Then 248. Then 268. Then 288. Then 308. Then 328. And then finally 348. Okay. Now we have to look for all the numbers between 189 and 208. That's why I say it's probably better to rewrite all of this and write it in order, so it's easier to count. But anyway, if you count them, there are 8 numbers between 189 and 208. There are 5 numbers between 209 and 228. There are 4 numbers between 229 and 248. And there are also 4 numbers between 249 and 268. Now, believe it or not, there are 0 numbers between 269 and 288. You can check. It's not there. But there are 2 numbers between 289 and 308. Then 6 numbers between 309 and 328. And then only 1 number between 329 and 348. All right, looks like we got a good graph. I like to make a good picture with this. Let's make a good histogram. So what we're going to do is, at the bottom, I'm going to just write the class numbers. I'll just keep it simple there. So we got 1 dash 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 2 dash 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 3 dash dash 4 dash dash 5 dash dash 6 dash 7 dash 8. Okay. Now let's see if we can expand it. Yeah, that's a good one. And our frequency goes as high as 8, but and as low as 0. So hang on, let's see if we can fit this in. I bet we can. Got 8. Enter. Say that's 4 there. Yeah, 8 and 4. Let's see. So let's see if that works. All right, so it's, again, not the best graph in the world, so forgive me for that. But we can start putting this together. Now, class 1 had a frequency of 8, so we're going to go all the way to the top like so. Class 2 only went to 5, so I'm going to kind of keep it between 4 and 6. Class 3 only went up to 4, so a little lower. Class 4 also went to 4, so keep the same height. Now class 5 was 0, so I'm going to leave that blank. Class 6 went up to 2, a little higher. Not much higher, but a little higher. Class 7 went up all the way up to 6, so that's a little spike there. And then class 8 only went up to 1. So now we can answer our questions. Which number had the greatest frequency? Well, class 1 had the greatest frequency. Which had the least frequency? Well, that's class 5 because class 5 had 0. So we've answered that. All right. So we have the wait time for 36 customers at a restaurant. And again, the most important thing we can do is find the width. That's number 1. So let's see what happens. All right, the max is 10, the minimum is 1. So if you subtract that, you get 9. But there are 5 classes, so we have to divide by 5. So that's equal to 1.8, but you have to round it up to 2. So when we do this, we'll start with the minimum, which is 1. And then we'll keep adding 2 to that. So 1 plus 2 is 3. Plus 2 is 5. Plus 2 is 7. And plus 2 is 9. Okay, well, notice that the second class started with 3. So the first class must end with 2. Let's just keep adding 2 to that. So 2 plus 2 is 4. Oops. There we go. 4 plus 2 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. And 8 plus 2 is 10. Excellent. Frequency. So the first step is to count all the numbers that are either 1 or 2. And if you sit there and count it, you're going to count 6 numbers. Let me see if we can get that in there. There we go. Also, if you count all the numbers that are 3 or 4, there are 13 numbers. If you count all the numbers that are 5 or 6, there's going to be 10 of those. If you count all the numbers that are 7 and 8, there are 4 numbers. And then if you count all the numbers that are 9 and 10, there are 3 numbers. Okay, so next is relative frequency. So, relative frequency is frequency divided by the total. So that means, for this case, we're going to have to do frequency divided by 36. So first up is 6 divide 36. And by the way, 6 divide 36 is 0.167. Next, we're going to have to do 13 divide 36, which, hang on, is 0.361. Then 10 divide 36, that's actually equal to 0.278. Then 4 divide 36, that's 0.111. And finally, 3 divide 36 is 0.083. Okay. Okay, so let's make a relative histogram. All right, so doing a histogram with relative frequency works the exact same way as doing it with regular frequency. We're just going to use the relative frequency. The classes on the bottom will stay the same. So let me type those in. They were pretty easy. We had 1 to 2, then 3 to 4, 5 to 6, 7 to 8, and 9 to 10. Okay. Now, when I noticed our highest relative frequency was 0.36, which, you know what, I'm going to call that 0.400. So that means I'm going to type in something a little bigger, 0.400. So that means half of that would be like 0.200. Yeah, that's good. In between would be 0.300. And down below would be 0.100. I could use this as a guide to get a nice graph. All right. All right, the frequency for 1 to 2 was 0.167. That's between 200 and 100, maybe slightly closer to 200. So I'll do something like that. The frequency to 3 to 4 was 361. So that's between 300 and 400. So kind of like this. Then 278, that's just under 300. So I'll do this. Then 111, that's really close to 100, maybe slightly above. So I'll just do like that. And then 0.083 is a little less than 100, slightly below that. And now we can answer our questions. Which has the greatest frequency? Well, I can tell you that 3 to 4 has the greatest frequency because I had the biggest column. Which has the least frequency? 9 to 10. Not only is it the smallest, but I'm not surprised. If you're in a restaurant, in a fast food restaurant, and it takes 10 minutes to get your order, you're probably not going to stay long. Anyway, I hope this answered your questions. If you have any questions, please email me or ask me online in the Math Resource Center online. Otherwise, good luck on your homework and good luck on your quiz. Thank you.